In this video, we're going to take another look at the capitalize function and come up with a slightly different solution. So as usual, I am going to back up my result here by copying it down to the bottom of the file and commenting it out. I will then clear out the contents of the capitalize function like so. All right, let's look at a diagram that's going to help us understand this alternative solution. So here we go. Okay, so here's a sequence of actions this time around. We're going to start off by creating an empty string called result. So notice that in this case, we're creating an empty string, not an array. We are then going to iterate through every character in the string. For each character, we will look at it and we'll say, in the character to the left of the current one, so whatever's to the left, is that a space? If it is a space, then we're going to take the current character that we are iterating over, we'll capitalize it, and we'll add it to the original result string. Otherwise, if it is not a space to the left of the current one, then we'll just simply take the character and add it to result without capitalizing it. So essentially, we can imagine the string say, hi there. When we iterate through this thing, and let's say we look at the character I right here, we'll look at the character to the left of it, that's an H, it is not a space, so we're going to say, no problem, just add I in to the result string. We'll then move on to the space. We don't care about the fact that this thing is a space. We're going to look to the left of it, see that there's an I there, and we'll say, okay, that's an I, we don't need to worry about it, so we'll take this character and add it into result. Then we'll move on to T. With T, we'll look to the left, we'll see, oh, you know what, that is a space. So we're going to capitalize T and then add it into the result string. Now this solution right here has one very big weakness to it. One very big weakness. I'm going to ask you if you can kind of find it right now based on the description I just gave you. The problem with the solution is that it doesn't work well with the very first character. So when we are capitalizing a sentence, the very first character should always be capitalized. So if we try to look to the left of the first character, well, there's nothing to the left. And so we will never attempt to capitalize it, even though it absolutely should. So an easy way to solve this is to say that when we create this initial string result, rather than creating it as an empty string, we should create result, which is the first character of the input string capitalized. So that's how we're going to get around that little limitation. When we create this first result string, the only content it's going to have will be this first character, and we're just going to immediately capitalize it. Then when we start to iterate through the rest of this array of characters here, we'll start with the first character, or I should say the character at index 1, the second element, and consider everything from here moving forward. So the downside to this approach is that it will require a manual for loop. We cannot use a for of loop in this case, because a for of loop is always going to attempt to iterate through every character. And in this case, we don't want to iterate through every character. We want to skip that first one. So a little bit of a downside here, but such is the way. All right, so let's give this a shot. Back over at my code editor, we'll first declare this starting string that we're going to call result. So we'll say let result, and it's going to take the first character out of string and automatically capitalize it, because that first character we always want to capitalize. So we'll say string at 0 dot to uppercase, like so. Now we can iterate from 1 to the length of the string, and for every character, we'll look to the left of it and decide whether or not we need to capitalize the current character. So we'll say for let I equals 1, I less than string dot length, I plus plus. Now we'll look to the left. We'll say if at string I minus 1. So this is to the left of the current character. If that thing is a space, then I want to take the current character that we're looking at. I want to uppercase it. Oops, to uppercase with a capital C. And then I'm going to add that on to the result string by saying result plus equals, like so. If the character to the left of the current character is not a space, well, in that case, we want to just add it on to the result string by saying string at I, like so. And now if you look very carefully at my function, I am missing the most important part, the return statement down at the bottom. Don't forget it. So we'll return result. All right, let's look at our terminal, see how our tests are doing. Looks good to me. So yeah, this looks like a reasonable solution here. This solution I'm not super happy with personally because it is kind of weak against, assuming that that first character always needs to be capitalized. What if for some crazy reason we are attempting to capitalize a Spanish string or something like that? I say Spanish because they've got, when they do a interrogative sentence, they start off with a question mark like, ¿qué tal? Like so. So clearly, in this case, that first character, we wouldn't really want to capitalize because it is a question mark. So, but hey, I don't think we can really claim that this solution would address it as well. I guess I'm just not super happy having this thing being hard-coded to always capitalize the first character. I don't know, just kind of natural engineering judgment. I just feel like it's a little bit off. Anyways, at the end of the day, I would still claim that this solution is harder to take a glance at and really understand what's going on. I think that this solution right here, the first one we worked on, is very legible, and I think that it would be pretty reasonable to hand this solution to an engineer, ask them what is going on, and I think they'd be able to give you a reasonable answer as to what's happening here. And I don't think that's really the case with this solution up here. But hey, to each their own. Okay, so that's our solution to the capitalized sentence function. Let's continue with our next example in the next section.